I saw a video recently from Shadiversity, basically saying how his channel's been faring. It has been questionable at best, mostly, according to him, due to YouTube Shorts. Other factors could come into play, for example, his rivalry with other YouTubers and some speculation about his own beliefs, which I've yet to see any evidence of at all. But I do agree that YouTube Shorts are an issue. All forms of short media are an issue. I know my channel has grown a great deal thanks to YouTube Shorts. But I have a strange feeling that's the only reason. And it has nothing to do with my content, it's all to do with the same stuff. It's because people just don't have any attention span. And that's the algorithm just not seeing what I do as worthy of doing. And I don't really have much in the way of clout on YouTube, certainly compared to other people who have been on for shorter periods of time. I started this channel towards, right in the middle of lockdown, I think. So that would have been just over 4 years ago, give or take. But there are more than a few things that have held me back. Mostly work, to be honest. The moment I started a full-time job, and certainly one that did not tell me what days I had off, so I couldn't plan any videos, it became a major issue. Not to bite the hand that fed me, though. When it comes to shorts, I have to agree with Shad that they are the bane of YouTube. All down to people's attention spans. They want many forms of media piling on them at about 47 times. This results in many long-form videos or even movies just going out the window. That's why Netflix has thrived, being able to capitalise on short bursts, and then they can basically work the pacing around it. Short hits here and there, giving you the time that you want to process. As far as I can tell. I'm no psychologist. Is this a problem for my channel? In a way, no. I fully accept my long rambling form videos are not to everyone's satisfaction. Sometimes short hits of information are all people need. And all people want, for that matter. Because if you can make a point nice and quick, then why should you bother explaining about it? That is perfectly reasonable. However, these short, snappy exchanges generally mean that you need to know a lot of context. You need to have all the information right there in front of you. Unfortunately, not many people do. In fact, few of them even bother to seek out that information when it's what they require for their research. Information requires structure, not just bullet points. In a way, you could say we've seen something similar in the Bible. Not as in the Israelites just wanting tiny snippets of information, but in the structure of chapter and verse. You can tell that's a later thing just by looking at Genesis. The first 2 chapters are truncated in such a way that it's difficult to get a sense of the narrative if you just read them chapter by chapter. In fact, if I remember correctly, the first chapter of Genesis only covers the 6 days of creation. It doesn't even bother covering the 7th day, which turns up in chapter 2. I'll have to double check my notes later. But it's that chapter and verse structure that makes people think they can simply pick and choose. No. Take it as a roster. Those chapter and verses should be taken not as bullet points, but as reference points. By all means to cross-reference, but also so you can see where that saying is said in context. Not so you can just say that was there for the whole point. No. And we find that an awful lot in YouTube Shorts, even just short videos on YouTube. Because if a comedian's joke is taken well out of context, it can reflect badly on them. And I see this plenty of times in my comments section, which I do get to view on occasions. The one that stands out is, surprisingly enough, in the slavery video I did, where one person simply took pretty much all the introduction in little snippets and decided to just comment on those, when later on I actually explained a great deal more. That implied they were only watching for a few minutes, if that. And then decided, okay, I've had enough, I'm just going. Strange as it may seem, technically I do count as a millennial in terms of the generational age split, though I don't think any sort of mental acumen, any sort of generational patterns can be based on purely which era we were born in, or which era we grew up in. I would be lying if I said this wasn't an issue with the generation that we're currently in, be it whichever generation that person was. I don't know which, I don't mind, I don't care. But if our attention span is becoming that short, then really, we need to start thinking about things in a different way. We keep making short-term plans, or even making snap decisions on things that need a lot more time to consider, waiting for things to mature, We want instant meals. We want literally fuel. Human fuel. That's literally what it is, and quite frankly, that's ridiculous. Is it Graham Norton? No. David Gorman once did a spoof on that with things called Spoons, taking all the notes from various songs and clashing them together, literally, and all play at once to see if people understood it. It was dreadful. Amusing, but dreadful. So why is this rant going on? Well, quite simply, if you want the context in my long videos, you need to watch them in full. Don't just sit around for the short form, because that's not going to give you any of the information you seek. And if I make a point there, I'm just going to move on. I try not to repeat myself if at all possible, but when people just don't have the time or whatever to look over things properly, then we're not really taking the time to study. We're just taking bits of information here and there, and that doesn't help at all. That is linked to a video I will be putting up, I think it'll be next week by the time this video goes out. You need more than just a few bytes. You need a long form structure to really get your teeth into it. You could say the difference between an apple and an apple crumble. An apple contains a lot of nutrients, a lot of carbohydrates, and a fair bit of fibre, along with plenty of vitamins. And when it's apple season, you can find them pretty much anywhere. Take one, crunch away, hey presto, that's a snack. But that's literally all it is. It's a small handful of calories in literally a bite-sized chunk. If you're in a rush, that's perfectly fine. But, as one person puts it, pretty eloquently in Terry Pratchett's books, snacks and naps. That's not how someone's supposed to live. That's how people die. And we take it like that with information, we have to hold that the same. What's it to do with apple crumble? Well, apple crumbles take a long time to make because they require extra ingredients. You have the apples, which you have to dice, you have to stew, and you have to bake. They can be thrown in with various sugars, with spices, maybe with a few more fruits, maybe some cherries, some dried fruit, possibly some rhubarb. And then you've got the crumble topping, which is some extra, which can be oats, which can be breadcrumbs, which can be just little balls of sugary dough. Because we think in short bursts, we think they'll just take far too long, so we just eat the damn apple. But the apple crumble, when you make it, that is a lot better. It contains a lot more nutrients. And you can have it with a few more things. You can have it with ice cream. You can have it with custard. You can have it with cream. Basically, it gives you a lot more options. But the basics of it is, my shorts aren't there for the main body of the channel, no. The shorts are simply there to get people's attention, to get people interested in the channel, to open up the other videos. And in fact, I will be going over the old videos to see where I can improve and start doing videos to update them. As indeed, my views on some things have changed and some things have been brought to my attention that I needed to peruse. So, remain dedicated in your research, my friends. Because if you just look for tiny things that will give you the inspiration or the gratitude you want, you'll just end up with things that get you nowhere. So stay dedicated, do your research, stay safe, and God be with you, my friend.